Welcome to Royle Subjects, your go-to podcast for anyone trying to navigate the ever-changing world of real estate.
Come with us as we explore topics that are always relevant, never boring, and designed with you in mind. Welcome back to Royle Subjects. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to title this episode The Bank of Mom and Dad, which is really fitting because we happen to have a brand new dad with us.
That's
Yay! Welcome back to Gerald Bilker, financial advisor and local Trentonian. Gerald was with us last year, so if you want to scroll back and take a listen to those episodes, really great content for you. And today he is back with us, and as Danielle mentioned, there's a new little one at home. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
How's it going?
Life-changing overnight.
Yes, yes.
It's going very well, though.
That's
We're
really
very
cool.
excited.
Very exciting. Well, we're happy to have you back with us. And as Danielle mentioned, kind of talking about the bank of mom and dad, the role that parents can play in setting their kids up for success, whether proactively or reactively, from a financial standpoint, whether it's working towards home ownership or just staying on top of debt. So we're excited to dive into this today.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
So I saw a post that you posted a few days ago about how your son is only 9 days old and already has some savings plans in place, which is fitting, you being a financial advisor and all. But why don't you talk to us about kind of the proactive side of things and what you would advise parents to do either, at birth or a few years later
Totally.
to kind of get ahead of that.
Yeah, I think the first thing when it comes to investing and saving for our kids or ourselves or anything like that is the time in component. And so knowing that, okay, my son is 9 days old, the number one thing that he has that most people don't is time on his side. And so that's where I wanted to, and my wife and I wanted to set up an investment account for not only the future, not only his education, but for real estate as well in the future as a great investment. So there's many different ways that people can go about that. I mean, the regular kind of way that most people know is the RESP, the Registered Education Savings Plan for school. But also depending on the parents and what their ability is they can open a TFSA, a tax-free savings account in their own name. So then when they invest, then that money grows tax-free. But the thing that they do need to look out for is just how much contribution they have for themselves. But someone could also open an in-trust account, which someone can invest in and have in trust for their child as well. And there's no limits to the amount of money that is invested. But it does work a little bit differently than maybe a TFSA or an RESP where it's kind of tax sheltered, so to speak. So
now, alternatively, if somebody has, let's say teenage children and they want to start putting some money aside, any insights or maybe any experience from your clients that you can kind of speak to of what you're seeing right now that people are doing if, maybe they didn't get the memo 15 years ago to start tucking away, or maybe they just didn't, right? Like we don't,
or maybe they didn't have the feasibility, right?
Totally.
Like situations change, especially if you have kids young.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Kids are expensive, and so we're not always thinking like, hey, let's tuck $10 a week aside because we're just trying to figure out how to get them to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's the thing. Like, I think back to when, I can't obviously think back to when I was born, but when I was younger, I know my parents didn't do these things. And it's not because they didn't love me, but they just didn't know. And so that's where I was very aware that when we started a family, I wanted to do these things. But when it comes to maybe even 5, 10, 15 years later, and maybe our children are approaching teenage years, when they get to the age of 18, parents could open, as I know we chatted about last time, the first home savings account and actually gift money to their children to then put in this FHSA that the child will actually receive the tax deduction because the account's in their name, even though the money's coming from the parent. So that's another great way of doing it because same idea, if somebody is 18 and they plan on buying a house in 7, 8, 10 years, if they're able to max that out and let it grow for a decade, they're going to be in a really good spot to be able to buy that house and have a great down payment for it.
I think that's what we're seeing a lot more of in real estate right now is a lot of parents getting involved in one way or the other in the home buying process. More so than just, dad's coming along for the home inspection. But
that's helpful too.
That is helpful too. But having parents contribute financially towards this. I was reading a report the other day that in 2022, it was 4 in 10 parents helped their children in some way financially towards the purchase of a home, whether through a gift or a loan. And that's for children, they categorize it 18 to 38. So if you're in your mid to late 20s or early 30s and you're feeling like, man, I can't afford to buy a home, you're okay, you're in good company. There's a lot of people that are in that same boat. And there are a lot of parents who are stepping in to say, hey, you know what, I want to make sure that you get into the market before it's too late. Do we think that it's ever going to be truly too late? Well, stay tuned for another episode. But it's interesting to know that this is a very common response that a lot of parents are taking right now.
I think that's more the reactive side. Oh, yes. I didn't have the, either thought process, financial feasibility, or, know-how to be ahead of it. But what can I do now? Whether it's pulling equity from your home to help with a down payment as a gift, or, like you said, a loan, you can pull equity from your home or from your savings to help pay off a car loan, pay off some student debt so that the debt-to-income ratio of the child goes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I know naturally in my experience when working with people, oftentimes it's recommended by a mortgage broker or agent to say, hey, have this conversation even before looking at homes to see if your parents are able to help you in this situation, and how does that look? Are they able to give you funds, or are they more willing to maybe pay off a debt for you, like you mentioned? I know that's an example. I've kind of seen both sides of it.
Or even co-sign.
Totally.
Right? You don't have to necessarily help in a financial way.
No, absolutely. And that's, definitely a common one as well. So, I just think with everything, communication is so important, and having those conversations very early on to enroll them into kind of what your goals are. And then if they're able to help, great. And if not, then just kind of looking at different ways to do that. Yeah.
I think it's really important to note that Danielle and I are real estate professionals. Gerald is a financial advisor. That's we're going to stay in our lane. So if you do have any kind of questions about, what kind of money could be gifted to you or loaned to you from a parent or an aunt or an uncle or grandparent, you need to speak with your mortgage professional, and you need to speak with a lawyer, because there could be implications that you need to be made aware of. Once you know how that's all going to come out in the wash and what that looks like in terms of your buying power, that's where we come into the conversation. But we really wanted to tackle this topic with you today because we know that this is something that we're seeing more and more of. There are people that are our age, slightly older, slightly younger, trying to buy a home, trying to get ahead in life, and sometimes you need a leg up and you need a little boost.
If you're a new parent or an older parent, an experienced parent, I'll say, or even if you're a young person who is, 18, 22, and you're thinking, I do want to own a home one day, but it just feels so out of reach. I feel like the first step for that is to go, we've said it before, talk to the professionals. And Gerald is one of those professionals. He can help you with financial management, where to put your money to get, the best return on your investment.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like, I think now, too, that I'm a parent, even albeit a very short period of time, that conversation that you just mentioned of just kind of feeling this ownership to take care of your children and their financial future. I mean, I've talked about it for as long as I've been in the industry, but now it's never been more urgent and clear that it doesn't mean you have to go and sit down with somebody and then move forward and do something right away. It's the education, it's the knowledge and know-how on, okay, what is best for me and my family and my children moving forward. And I think an educated consumer is going to be able to do better for them and their family. And I think it just starts with a conversation. Yeah. That doesn't mean you have to do something that same day.
Well, I think, too, I appreciated what you put in your post of you had shared the dollar amount that you and your wife have decided to contribute weekly. I mean, even just as a parent, you can feel overwhelmed with the gift of parenting beyond all the finances that it's going to require of you in your lifetime. But it can be small, literally $5 a week, $10 a week, whatever you could afford. Maybe it's $5 a month. It doesn't have to be astronomical, but we know that compounded growth over time can really make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And that's something, too, that I think I always encourage people because whenever looking at numbers and how much, hey, maybe I have to save for whether it's my retirement or saving for a home or kids' education, just start. It doesn't have to, you just mentioned, it doesn't have to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. Just get into the habit with less. And 6, 12, 18 months from now, let's reevaluate. And, most times people's response, I didn't even notice they come out of my bank account.
Yes. We're not discounting the fact that it's complicated to, save for your retirement, your kids' futures, while still paying your bills and, having fun, living your life. It's a complicated, algorithm to figure out where to put your money and how. Yeah. But that's where, like we said, talking to the experts. If you have a goal and you don't know how to achieve it, Find an expert. Find Gerald.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us again, Gerald. It's always a pleasure to chat
Yes.
with you. Wish you all the best with your little
Thank you.
family. And if you have any questions or you want to reach out to Gerald and pick his brain on how to start your financial path, we'll put his contact information in the show notes below. I'm Sarah.
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Gerald.
And we can't wait to talk to you next week. If you have any questions regarding real estate, please feel free to reach out at our website, theroyalgroup.ca, or the Royle Group on any social media platforms.
See you around.